Welcome to Genuine Gainz. I'm Meredith Mistro, and I'm here to help you find mental and physical wellness that feels true to you. Life can be overwhelming, and taking care of yourself shouldn't add to that stress. So whether you're seeking inspiration, practical tips, or just a little encouragement, you're in the right spot. We'll share real stories and resources to help you find your own path to wellness, one that fits your life and your goals. Let's make those genuine gains your way. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Warning you all right now that this episode is going to be short and sweet because today is my first day starting a new part-time job. I know, I'm crazy, but I'm going to be working at Lululemon, at least for right now, part-time. For those who don't know, I do have a full-time job, surprisingly. I work in finance full-time and I do this brand. And then I'm also doing Lululemon now because, to be honest, so many reasons. But number one is money. Number two is I like Lulu. And, might be a way to meet people. So might as well give it a try, right? I am acting nonchalant about it, but I'm actually a little nervous. I don't know why. I just feel like when you start anything new and big, it is daunting because you don't know how it's going to affect the rest of your life. And I think I am someone who lives in this perpetual state of never having enough time. There's so much that I want to do that I just feel like I don't have the time in the day to do. So you're probably like, why in the world would you start a new job when you feel like you don't have enough time to live your life currently? And that is the most valid question I've ever heard. And yet I don't know the answer. I think I just do it because it gives me some sense of productivity. It keeps me busy. It gives me money and, is a good way to spend my time. But yes, it will inevitably just be taking up more of my time for all the other things that I want to do. So I don't mean to be negative, but I do think it's going to be interesting. I'm excited. I'm nervous. I just don't know how it's going to go. So that is where I'm going right after this. And because my schedule is now a little crazier, I had to squeeze in a podcast in the afternoon after one job before another job. Just a working gal, you could say. I don't want to be one of those annoying people who's just like, oh, I'm so busy. But I kind of am right now, so I'm sorry. Anyway, today though, I think this episode actually comes at the perfect time for me personally. Hopefully it comes at a good time for you too, because that's more important than me. But it is a continuation of the Self-Care Toolbox series that we have been doing the past few weeks. I can't believe we're on episode 4. If you have not seen any of the other episodes, I would recommend you go check them out. I think we touch on some really foundational concepts when it comes to figuring out what self-care is right for you and going through some of the roadblocks that could get in the way and how to effectively get over those in a realistic way. But something I realized as I was going through these past few episodes is that I really was implying the entire time that self-care is something you do outside of your normal day-to-day responsibilities. It's something you do outside of school, outside of work, outside of time you're hanging out with friends and family and partners and whatever. I mean, I think you can definitely have self-care with other people, but I have really been referring to self-care as more of those practices you do when you're alone, when you're not working, when you're not studying, when you're not with other people. And the reality of life is that most of our days are not spent doing nothing, at least most of us. I'm sure many of us wish that that was our reality, but most of our days are spent doing the things that require us to have self-care, which is also kind of sad. We obviously don't want to have jobs that make us miserable or, we don't want to hate school. We don't want to hate the people in our lives and need to take care of ourselves after spending time with them. But the sad reality for many of us is that our day-to-day life and whatever we're spending a lot of our time doing is oftentimes not perfectly in line with our ideal life. And if it was, maybe we wouldn't even need as much self-care as we do. The thing is, though, when we only talk about self-care as being something you do outside of your day-to-day life, it obviously leaves a lot of time during your day when you're not practicing self-care. And from my experiences, even in just the past few months at my job, for example, I have found that incorporating self-care into your day, into the things that bring you stress and anxiety and burn you out and cause you this feeling of needing self-care, incorporating some of that into those experiences is honestly one of the most helpful things I have been able to do for myself. And yet I don't feel like it's really talked about or normalized, especially not in a workplace setting or, even at school, even with people. And a lot of it comes to your mindset, boundary setting, but there's also some simple actions that I've been able to start taking in these different situations to just take even 5 minutes for myself in the middle of the day. And that counts as self-care, even if it's not elaborate, even if it's not some big ritual that we all think of when we think self-care, it still counts for something. So I kind of want to go through a few tips today that have helped me find mindfulness and self-care in those situations. I'm going to be using work as a big example for myself, just because, as we all know by now, I work. How many times have I mentioned that in this episode? I don't know. But it is the most prevalent situation and experience that I go through every day of my life, pretty much. So, of course, I am really trying to find self-care within my workday. But again, you can use these tips, tricks in whatever takes up the majority of your day, given that you too sometimes feel like you're a little burnt out, a little tired, a little stressed. So that said, I'm looking down at my phone because I can't ever remember what I'm saying. And, nope. I was literally just about to say, I think I have undiagnosed ADHD. Yeah, and that's off topic. So that just is my point right there. That proves it. Anyway, number one thing that I really find valuable when I'm thinking about how to incorporate self-care at work is literally bringing awareness to how I'm feeling during the day. And that sounds so woo-woo and so weird to a lot of people, but you know as well as I do that sometimes we can just get so far deep into whatever we're doing that we don't actually take time to consciously recognize how we feel, how things are affecting us. And that can be really bad. When we just are letting the work consume us, we are just losing all awareness of ourselves. We are being controlled by the work or by the people. And so really the first step to self-care inside the workplace or whatever it is for you is being aware of it. This is something that has taken a lot of practice for me. It's something that I've been told in therapy, even by doctors. It's like all about just bringing awareness to both your mental and physical state whenever you think of it. And that's the issue, right? Is actually thinking about yourself and how you're feeling. A lot of us just are not conditioned to do that. But if you remember anything from this episode, maybe let it be to take a moment whenever you feel yourself just working. It doesn't even have to be in a high stress moment, because that's often the time when we're not going to remember to think about ourselves. But whenever you're just working or with someone, take a second, check in with your body, see how your body feels. I feel like a lot of us carry tension in our body. So there are definitely physical symptoms. If we're super tight, super tense, sometimes we get like digestive issues, we start sweating, we get chills. I mean, these are getting more extreme. Rapid heart rate, right? Like all of these things are physical symptoms of a bigger issue. For me, the big one is headaches. I have gotten headaches basically my whole life. I definitely started getting worse headaches over the past year or so. They kind of turned into migraines, and I've been through a lot of different doctors and brain scans and all of the fun things to try and figure out what's going on there. By the way, brain scans are so cool. I nerd out completely over brain scans, but that is not what this episode is about. So no, you don't have to do a brain scan to be aware of how you feel, but that can really help to just notice, oh, am I getting a headache right now? That's interesting. Of course, there could be so many reasons for it, but a lot of times, at least for me, I find that my mental state definitely ends up affecting my physical body in more ways than one. And so being aware of that, even just being in the moment with your five senses, that's something a lot of people like to say in the self-help world, is just think of something you can see, something you can taste, touch, hear, smell. Wow, I can't believe I got all of them. I'm so smart. Five senses. It doesn't take much to excite me these days, but doing that, whatever exercise is going to get you in your body and seeing how you feel is important. Mentally too, obviously, it's important to check in with yourself during your work day or school day, see how your mind is feeling. And oftentimes we are very well aware that our minds are not operating in a quote unquote normal way, whether it's anxiety, sadness, anger, confusion, just a general sense of brain fog. There's so many different things, right? And I think just recognizing that is also really important. If you're genuinely in that moment, like, I'm chilling, I'm present, I'm happy, I'm content, then first of all, pat yourself on the back, because that is incredible. And I want to know how you're living your life to feel so content, because I feel like most of us do not go through our days feeling that way. So if that's you, maybe just get off this episode and never come back, because clearly you don't need any help. For the rest of us, hello, if you're still here, thank you so much. I hope that's like everyone, because we all have issues. Sorry, I'm not calling you out. I'm calling me out. It's not you, it's me. But I like to think I'm in it with someone. So if you're here, thank you. I do think a lot of us have some stressful thoughts, some sad thoughts, some angry thoughts throughout the day. And if you do catch yourself feeling any type of way, then that's important to take note of as well. My overall point is awareness is key to even being able to practice self-care in a work environment. If you're not aware of it, you're not going to even know to do it. But once you do become aware, I think the first subtle shifts that you can make don't necessarily require you to step away from what you're doing. I think this is where I want to keep it realistic, because some of us literally are on our feet all day. We are literally in a class. We are in meetings. We can't just leave. I mean, we could maybe, but that creates a whole slew of issues, right? Assuming that you can't just stand up in that moment that you are aware you're not doing so great, here are a few things that have really helped me ground myself in the present moment and practice that self-care, even in a more indirect way. The first thing is literally just my mindset around the situation. And this is so basic, but it's really true. I think, just to give you a little context into who I am definitely a perfectionist, and I'm someone who can be a workaholic, if you can't tell. I give probably 150% into a lot of things until I'm burnt out. Then I give 100, which, I'm not trying to sound, like I love myself, because I don't, but I just am wired to always be trying my best and always be doing the most, because I get so frustrated with myself when I don't. It's like something within me. But at the same time, when I am not giving 100%, I'm like, oh my God, everyone hates me. Everyone is judging me. I am literally the worst employee in the world. I get in my head about that, thinking that other people see that and are judging me more harshly because of it, and that it's actually going to affect me in terms of my performance and things of that nature. So I think what I have to try and remember in these moments when I'm feeling stressed is that even if, people, if work, if whatever it is benefits from me giving 150% and putting my entire mental health into that thing, I mean, we don't have to do that to get the same result. I think it's interesting because over the past few months I've started experimenting, and I probably should not share this publicly, but at the same time I'm like, I don't really care because I think it's helpful. But I've tried experimenting with putting less effort into what I do. Not in the sense that I'm slacking off. I'm getting done everything I need to get done. I'm going to my meetings, I'm doing my tasks, right? But I'm not giving it literally everything. Like if there's something extra, like icing on the cake that I could do, I practice maybe not doing that and seeing how it affects me. And the crazy thing is, not one time has someone said anything about it. Like, it has not had any negative impact so far. And that has been eye-opening to me because it's like, oh, I'm spending all this extra time doing all this extra stuff that I think everyone's going to care about, that I think is going to help me, and that I think is required for me to feel good and for them to feel good. And yet, at the end of the day, it doesn't really make much of a difference over that baseline level of effort. So if I can get the same results putting in 100% versus 150%, then why not put in 100 and allow my mind to breathe a little bit, because that creates more space in my mind. Physically and mentally, it creates more time in my day to think about other things, to do other things, and that is really what I need after so long of just burning myself out, thinking I have to do everything that I could ever think of to make someone's life easier or to do my job well. That's just not always what you have to do. Now, let me be clear again. I feel so stressed now that I'm saying this. I'm like, I do not want to look like a slacker. I literally still find it so hard to let go of some of that extra effort that's not required. It is something that has literally been ingrained in me for my entire life. So don't worry, I'm not just going from one extreme to the other. And I think that's something else I have to remind myself of when I'm doing this. It's like, I get so worried if I don't put in 150%, like I said, that I'm just a failure. But the reality is, like, I'm not wired that way. There is no way that me with my personality is just going to go from doing the most to doing the least, you know? Like, it's not on brand. It's not me. And if that happened, then I think AI has taken over and my soul is somewhere beyond this world. Anyway, so I have to remind myself of that. Like, just because I'm doing less does not mean I'm doing nothing, and I don't have that ability to do nothing. I wish I did sometimes, but it's just not who I am. So if you happen to be anything like me, I hope hearing that is a little bit relieving and helpful, because it's not just you. We all, I think, can feel this sometimes, but you also just sometimes have to experiment and see for yourself that, oh, it's really not that bad. And most people literally don't care. That's the other thing. People literally don't care about you. They're not thinking about you and what you're doing as much as you are, because they're all doing their own stuff. They're all doing their own work. They're all stressed out about how much they're doing. Like, the things we stress out about are probably the same things they are stressing out about in their own life. So no matter what, even the person who seems to be obsessed with you and stalking you, even they have their own issues that they're thinking about more than they're thinking about you. Because that's human nature. We all just naturally have to think about ourselves the most to literally survive. So just remember, no one's thinking about you as much as you're thinking about you. And that always helps me too. The second thing that is a little bit less direct in terms of self-care that can still help you in these times of stress at work or school or with people is doing a better job setting boundaries. This is something I really want to do a whole episode, if not series, on, because I'm going to be so honest with you right now. This is one of my biggest struggles in life, in relationships, in friendships, in everything. I am the actual worst with setting boundaries, and I'm not afraid to admit that because it has hurt me, it has hurt other people, and there are things that I just feel so bad about because I have not clearly articulated myself to people in my life. I have not set boundaries. I have not set clear expectations. I have a very indirect communication style sometimes and really try to avoid conflict and confrontation at all costs because it makes me uncomfortable. And being such an overly empathetic person, I always see things from other people's perspectives, and my base is thinking like, oh my God, I don't want to say anything that's going to offend them. I don't want to say anything that's, going to make them sad, because I can just feel how a confrontation or a conflict or a boundary could have a negative impact on someone. Like, it's so bad, the lengths that I have gone to not set boundaries, and that is why it is literally one of my number one areas for improvement right now that I am actively working on. Just more direct communication and more firm boundary setting. And this literally can apply everywhere. I think I've started to do a better job of this at work. My personal life is following, don't you worry. But I think this is something huge in terms of self-care as well, because setting a boundary is genuinely taking care of yourself. It is putting yourself first. And as a people pleaser, that's not something that is often in our vocab. Like, we don't know how to put ourselves first. So setting a boundary is a great way to practice that. And at work, this could literally be, if you feel overloaded with work, telling someone, hey, I don't have the capacity to take on another project right now because I know that it would be low quality just because I have so much on my plate. And it's not that I don't want to work. It's not that I don't want to help you. It's just, I literally could not give my all to this right now. And I want you to have a super high quality project, but it's not going to happen from me at this moment. Like, even saying that out loud, I'm like, oh, that's funny. You think you can just say that, Meredith. But I've tried that again in the past few months and it's working. It's fine. Most people understand and they actually respect that you have the self-awareness to know your limits, right? Because I've gotten myself into trouble at work sometimes when I take on too much and a deadline slips past, or my work is not as high quality as it could be because I'm juggling 50 things that I have agreed to do with no boundaries, rather than setting intentional boundaries and doing one thing at a time and making sure it is the best that it can be. I feel like just open and honest communication with whoever it is at work, at school, bosses, teachers, and also in your personal life, friends, partners, family, anyone who is taking up your time. This sounds bad, but make sure you have boundaries with them, because what I've learned is that people a lot of times don't understand until you set a boundary. And sometimes I've waited until it is way too late. Even if I've been thinking these things like, I can't do this. If I'm not articulating that, then I'm not taking care of myself. I'm still putting that other person first by letting them have this control over me. And then it just gets messy because there becomes a point where it can feel too late to set a boundary and create more drama and confrontation than you would have ever wanted. So I know that was a rant, but I'm just passionate about that one because boundaries, I am finding, are one of the best forms of self-care, but one of the hardest ones for me personally to practice. In these moments, though, it's a really great thing to think about. Do I have enough boundaries set? Do I have the right boundaries set? And if not, how do I ensure that I am setting those to take care of myself more effectively? All right, I only have a few minutes, so I'm gonna whip through these next ones pretty quick. Whip through them? I don't even think that's the right word. Whatever. If you're looking for tangible actions to take, if you are in the middle of your day and you're like, I'm burnt out, I'm stressed, I don't want to be here. Here are some things that have really helped me that actually require action, okay? Now, again, these are short and sweet. You don't need more than 5 minutes to do these, so no one can get mad at you. Literally, if someone gets mad at you for taking 5 minutes for yourself, there's a bigger problem. You need to get out of that environment. But anyway, number one is literally getting outside. This is basic. You've heard it a million times, but truly, I cannot stress how much fresh air can help. It can just be this instant source of grounding and presence, bring you back to the world. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm so deep into my work, I'm like, I just forget that the world exists. And then I go outside and I'm like, wow, this literally means nothing. Like, there are people out here, there are animals out here, there are cars, nature exists. Like, there is so much more to life than this work I've been doing. And literally just getting outside can help me remember that. And if you can't go outside, literally getting into another room, right? Just a different environment for a few minutes with preferably no screens or no reminders of work or what's inside, because the point of this is to, take a break. I'm talking to myself here. Anyway, another great thing you can do while you're outside is a nice little walk, a little stroll. There are so many studies out there about the effects of taking even a short walk on your brain, releasing those endorphins. Just blood flow, circulating can really help your mood. So many things. I'm not going to get into all of them here because I want to talk about that more in another episode / series, wink wink. But, oh my God, I hope if you are watching that, I literally can't wink. So that was embarrassing that I even tried, but here we go. We're staying genuine. Walking is great. That's all I'm trying to say. All right. Next thing is, again, this is kind of going off the point. If you can't or don't want to go outside, go into another room and literally just sit in silence for a few minutes. It's so nice, especially if you've been around people all day in calls, in classes and meetings. Like, it's crazy how much of a difference it can make to just sit in a quiet room and just breathe. Like, the sound of nothing but, I don't know, AC is so nice. I don't know, it's just relaxing. I sometimes just go sit and stare at walls, and I sound crazy for doing that, but you should try it. Staring at walls is great. It really makes you think a lot about walls and what they're made of and colors and paint. And it also makes me very grateful that I'm not a wall constructor. That is not a career, but you know what I mean. I'm like stressed out about time, so now I'm like, I can't even articulate thoughts properly. Here I am talking about walls. Meredith. Okay. So go in a room and sit. That is literally a technique, okay? So don't laugh. It is a thing that I do, and it feels very nice. However, I will say, you can also go for a nice little 5-minute scroll if you would like. Even though a nice, quiet, no scrolling time is always nice, it can also be good for your mental health to just, do a little check, do a little TikTok binge for a few minutes, do something, watch something that makes you laugh. I don't think that's bad either, in moderation. If you do want to talk to someone, if you're like, I just can't be in my own head anymore, call a friend, call a family member, send a voice memo. I love sending voice memos to certain people. I had to think about that for a second. Certain people only, but it's kind of nice because you let out your thoughts and feelings. It feels like you're talking to someone, but it's not as much commitment as like having a full-blown conversation. But you can do that if you want. It also feels like I'm just doing my own mini podcast episode, and I always love doing that, obviously. Last thing is literally stand up, get a snack, get food, get coffee, get water. Food and water are often fuel for the brain. And a lot of times, especially if we're sitting around for a long time, if we are deep in thought, if we are working, our brain is using our fuel, and we can start feeling irritable, we can start feeling sad, we can start feeling stressed simply because we haven't drank water or eaten food. So again, sounds simple. Set an alarm or a timer on your phone every couple hours at a certain time of day, whatever works for you, and it will go off and remind you to go get some water or literally go take a walk. It can work for any of these. Set some kind of reminder or alarm, because if you're like me, you will not set that time to intentionally take a break, to get into your body, feel how you're feeling, and then, go do whatever you got to do. Okay? So all of this is to say, I think it is very, very possible to take time for self-care, even within the situations that make us feel like we need it. So don't feel like you are a slave to work or school or people in your life. You should be a slave to yourself, in my opinion. Be there for you more than anyone else. And this is from someone who literally is practicing that every day. But I think it's important because I've been on both sides of it, and I realize what a difference it makes to just take even a few minutes to take care of yourself and just be. I hope some of this was helpful. If it was, let me know. And let me know too if you have any other self-care techniques that you employ at work, because I need more tips. Beyond that, I do hope that maybe 1, 2, 3 of these resonate, and you can take a gander, and I don't know why I said that. You can try them this week at work. That's what I'm trying to say. Or school. Or in a conversation. Set a boundary that you might not have normally said out loud. Crazy thoughts, I know. But try something out this week. That's my challenge for you. And remember, if you have not chosen your one self-care practice yet that you want to try by the end of the series, you still have time. I believe we have one more episode of the series, so you've got time. But also remember that something I mentioned today could be that practice. It doesn't have to be something big. It can be something small. It can be something you do within the confines of your busy days that, you're already having. So just remember that one of these things can also count as the new self-care habit that you try to implement. Okay, I really have to go now. I will talk to you all very soon, but until then, thank you for listening. I appreciate your support more than you know, and see you soon. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Genuine Gainz. I hope you found something that resonates with you today. Remember, wellness is a journey, not a destination, and it's all about finding what works best for you. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with someone who might need a little inspiration. Let's keep making those genuine gains together, one step at a time. Until next time, take care of yourself.